Hey everyone, I'm Sam Charrington, founder of TWIML and host of the TWIML AI podcast. And I'm excited to be speaking with Cloudera's VP of Engineering for Machine Learning, Sushil Thomas. We met at Cloudera's Data Leaders Roundtable earlier this year, and today we're going to be talking about topics that matter to enterprise leaders navigating the data lifecycle. Sushil, welcome.
Thanks, Sam. Very nice to be here. Looking forward to this.
Let's get a little bit of introduction into to your background and your role as VP of Engineering. Is that primarily focused on engineering the internal products that are offered to customers, or how close do you get to the problems that customers are facing from a machine learning lifecycle perspective?
We always work very closely with customers. Like my strong push on engineering organizations is always that you cannot just build these products in isolation, right? So you have to continuously be talking to customers. If I don't have, 2 or 3 customer meetings every week, then I'm really disappointed, essentially. And typically it's more than that. And you work in customers at different phases. So you work with the customers that have never heard of you and never use your products. You work with customers that are 3 years into using your products and that know the ins and outs of your product and their business and have very specific suggestions on what you should do next.
What are some of the key trends you're seeing in organizations that are trying to deploy machine learning, go further with their ability to make use of data, deploy advanced analytics? How are they dealing with the organizational issues that arise, and what are those issues?
This is obvious when I do the one-on-one conversations. Like ML and AI within organizations is still very, very nascent, and people are still figuring out what the right way is to do things. Like no one exactly knows what the expectations are. Like normally teams are set up with very, very high expectations on this is just going to magically make everything better. The teams are struggling through, like we heard that all the time, like the teams are struggling with where is the actual data? Is the data clean? Like how do I get rid of all this noise from the data? Then what kind of use cases can I do? And how do you keep all of this going at organizational scale? And so I think industry-wide, all of us are in the process of figuring a lot of these things out and what the best practices are here. These are not very well written out today.
Yeah, one of the things that jumps out at me on this particular point is there's this back and forth in industries. One thing that we're grappling with is thinking about machine learning as an engineering discipline versus thinking about it as a science and an exploratory process. And in a lot of ways, it requires synthesizing these two perspectives. You can't just approach it as a traditional engineering task, and you can't just approach it as a unstructured exploration if you hope to achieve any scale.
Essentially, the thing that seems to work well is having a standard set of definitions that are organization-wide around the data, having a standard set of security practices and access policies and all that stuff in place that are very strong and very central. And when you talk about how you move something to production and how you monitor the performance of something going ahead and what the standards are for interpretability that have to be built into whatever you're publishing, and how do you manage in a central way like uptime and all of these things, I think there's a strong case to be made that should be formalized, standardized, centralized. At the same time, you don't want to be prescriptive to the data scientists to say that this is the kind of model you'll use, this is the kind of training you'll do, this is the kind of hardware you will use to do the training, because I think it's an evolving field and a lot of that is continuously changing over time, and you want to have that flexibility there. So I am biased towards thinking that that's a better model for ML and AI, where the actual outcomes are really close to the business. You need people right next to the business who will work with the business, understand their urgency, build the models, show them the outcomes, do the predictions, all of that stuff. And of course, at the same time, I do very much like this notion of let's standardize on tools and let's standardize on processes, and let's make sure once these things are built out, that there's a standard way in which we manage and monitor and track these things and augment them over time, right?
Great. Well, Sushil, it was great catching up with you. Thanks so much.
Very nice talking to you as well, Sam. Thanks for your time.